Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again so much for our time together. As we continue to start this new, beautiful year together, I want us to deal with an issue that came up right in the beginning, the question of sin. Now, as we begin to go through chapter 3, just follow along with me, and I want you to see some truths about sin. First of all, sin always begins with shrewdness and craftiness. In chapter 3, verse 1, now the serpent was more crafty, New Living Translation says more shrewd, than any of the other wild animals God had made. And I showed you just a few days ago that Satan's deceitfulness, his shrewdness, his craftiness, goes all the way up to the end until finally he's thrown into the lake of fire, and then deceit finally leaves this world. Now, deceit is where it always begins. Deceit is used by someone who wants to bring you down to their level. Satan had left his place with God. He'd left his close fellowship with God. He'd been the guardian cherub that covered, and he'd lost his place with God. And now he wants to bring Adam and Eve down to his level. You're going to find that whenever people begin to bring you into sin, and people do bring us into sin, they are a cause of sin in our lives. It's always people who use deceit and craftiness and shrewdness to bring us down to their level. Secondly, I want you to realize that temptation is a debate that you can never win. In chapter 3, Eve begins to listen to Satan. You should never listen to people when they begin to try to talk you into something that you know is wrong. It's not a debate that you can win. So don't enter into the conversation. Don't have the conversation, because when that conversation begins, you're going to begin to question God. You're going to begin to think about God's not fair to you and God's not right to you, and you're not going to think about the consequences. The logic of sin, well, verses 4 and 5, it's all about self-development. Verse 6 is all about addressing what you think you need, what you think you want, what you think will improve you. But the truth of sin is this, in verse 3, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it, or you will die. The truth of it is that sin always tells you to take something that you're not supposed to have. Eve took the fruit. The same Hebrew word is used in Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 14. Eve seized. She grabbed it. She took it. Sin always takes something that's not supposed to be ours. I want to challenge you today just to sit down and think through these simple thoughts today and read through the Scriptures and just purpose in your heart that by the grace of God, and the Scripture does teach us, grace teaches us to say no to ungodliness. Allow the grace of God to say no in your life.